Time to relax. And you know what that means. A glass of wine, your favorite easy chair, and of course, the Guy and Harley podcast playing on your home stereo. So go on and indulge yourself. That's right. Kick off your shoes, put your feet up, lean back and just enjoy the melodies. After all, podcasts soothe even the savage beast. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Devil. You can talk when I've got
I was just waiting for
your
cut to me.
Shot. Yeah, forget the audio, people. Forget him.
It's just don't care about them.
There we go. Here he is.
And I'm Guy Pigden. Is that our new intro?
Which one? That whole thing that spiel I just did. That is from the Offspring's greatest album, Smash.
Oh,
the
right.
one that
sound
launched
familiar.
them. The one that launched them.
Did sound familiar.
Yeah. So that's how they open their album Smash. So shout out to Dexter Holland. I know he listens. He's a fan. And Noodles as well. Noodles tunes in. Greg K, I believe.
Speaking of aging rockers.
Yeah. I look like an aging rocker now.
Well, yes, absolutely. But who's the guy, the main guy of the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Anthony Cletus or Cletus or whatever.
Right? Yeah. So
he's in trouble at the moment.
Well, I don't know who's in trouble. I tell you who is in trouble. P. Diddy's in trouble.
Oh, P. Diddy's in big trouble.
Diddy's in trouble, but Anthony they've just posting a bunch of photos of him with his 19-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah, that's what I mean, the trouble that he's in.
And, look, it's interesting because what are you going to do when you are a rich, famous rock star? Date 60-year-olds just because you're 60?
Well, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I know that...
Doesn't really.
I think Keanu Reeves is dating someone his own age, isn't he? Disgusting. Absolutely
Gross.
Repulsive.
What's wrong with him?
Well, this is disgusting behavior. No wonder women choose the beer.
And what's weird about this is like a sort of a criticism. There's two things. Emotional and mental maturity.
Yeah.
Is
overrated.
Obviously not at 19 where it's going to be in, say, 10 years' time.
Yeah, so you got lots of time to grow into it, that means.
And I do feel like as a criticism, like that's the most valid one, is you're talking to a child.
Yeah. Well,
go and clean your room.
Yeah.
Now that we've just had sex.
Well, she might be a very mature 19-year-old.
But when you say a mature
like
19,
an old soul.
To me, a mature 19-year-old has had to suffer the most horrific trauma
to
for
become
the previous
mature.
year to become that old soul. 10 years of absolute devastation of all sorts of horrific things happening that's essentially made her grow old before her time.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe.
But I don't know any old souls at 19.
Yeah.
I don't know him. I haven't met him.
Haven't met him. Yeah.
And so I definitely think that, from that perspective, it's almost like he is fundamentally ignoring everything she says until they have sex.
Yeah. And then he's just like, damn, lucky me.
And then he goes back to default of, yeah.
Well,
like this. Yeah. To whatever she says.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We're speculating here. Maybe he's extremely immature. Maybe they just talk about 19-year-old stuff. He's like, yo, did you catch Kathy on the weekend? Did you see what she was wearing? That shit was insane. Oh, man, I got so shit-faced.
Well, yeah, look, I've been an Uber driver, and in my Uber drives, I drove a lot of 19-year-olds places.
Yeah.
And all that I could lament was how fucking stupid they were.
Yeah, like what they were talking about.
Both boys and girls. I was just like, fuck, is this it? And I was like, I guess I was talking like this at that age too. I guess I had all these conversations. They just didn't seem so fucking stupid as they do right now.
Yeah.
So I do think that it is a valid point that technically he, as a man who has been like a rock star since he was 20, has stunted his own emotional growth and maturity through essentially being a famous weirdo for 40 years.
Well, yeah, not living in the real world, living in this sort of fantasy world where you remain the center of attention, the child at the heart of it all, you know? Yeah.
So, you know, like that is a valid point that he could say. He could say, look, I haven't grown up. I have literally not evolved since I was 20 years old. So actually we're on the same level.
I'm not casting any shade his way.
Why is that?
I just feel like I'd do the same thing, to be honest. If I was a rich millionaire and there was
I'm sure,
you know, and I was single,
she who shall
if I was single,
not be named, she who shall be named. Love to hear that.
Well, you got to remember, I'm talking about a hypothetical here, where I am a famous rock star who is single. Okay, now, if I'm a famous rock star who's single, and you know, there's an attractive woman who's interested in me, you know, I might be interested in her.
Well, look,
regardless of her age,
I do think
within obviously the legal parameters.
It's 100% wrong to cash, like, you know, and there's all like DiCaprio only dates people under 25, and all this sort of thing, and it's like, they can do whatever the fuck they like. Those 25-year-olds, that 19-year-old can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to date Leonardo DiCaprio until they turn 26, they can. They're entitled to do that.
Yeah.
You can't tell anyone at 25 or 19.
If you can tell a 19-year-old to go overseas and kill people for the American government, then God damn it, they can date who they want.
They can date a sexy rock star.
They can date a sexy rich rock star.
Also, let's be real. He does look like he's 30.
Yeah, he's in great shape. He looks good.
It looks amazing. Yeah. And you know, that's the thing is like.
Did you read his book?
No, I didn't read his book.
It's a good book.
But that's the thing is like.
Scar tissue.
Young, attractive looking people, even if they're not young, gravitate towards young, attractive looking people. Mm-hmm. And you know,
or rich people. So he's kind of got the best.
He's got a double whammy.
Yeah.
And I just also think that like, look, let's be real here. Like, it's all very noble. It's all very noble to be like, no, I just care about, you know, the person on the inside, and I couldn't deal with that because, you know, of you know how they would be immature and I'd be mature and they haven't lived and I've lived, blah blah blah. But the reality is, you just want to date hot people and have sex with hot people, and that doesn't change when you are old and not hot.
It's true. They don't tell you that.
And they really don't. And essentially, I feel like it's
just because I'm old, it doesn't mean I'm attracted to old people.
I don't think anyone's penning, like, I'm not sure if it's a 60-year-old penning these articles or if it's 20-somethings being horrified by, you know, 25-year-old journalists.
I imagine that 25-year-old journalists are like, yo, I'll date whoever I want. I'm an empowered, you know, person.
It is like, look.
It'll be old people. It'll be some old 41-year-old
You just don't get attractive
shade.
when you're old.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Well,
when you're single, who do you choose to date? I think that just the big thing is that generally old people, normal old people, don't have a choice.
Exactly. But
and so they're on their exactly. They're on their high horse.
What would they do?
They're on their high horse with no choice in the matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they throw the shade.
Yeah.
But if they had a choice, 19-year-olds all day.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is the thing is as old as time as well. Like, do you think that Emperor Caligula had a 40-year-old wife?
Definitely not Caligula, going by the based off the movie.
or Caesar, you know, you think Caesar's, you know, well, to be honest, maybe who knows? You can probably look it up and find out if maybe he was like strategically wed to somebody, an Egyptian. I think didn't he have a fling with Cleopatra? I think he did.
Something like that.
I think he did. Anyway, I'm just saying, it's as old as time. Dirty old guys and attractive young women who want to make their way up the ladder. This is a partnership as old as time.
It is. And look, you know, the pendulum is swinging. Like, there's some dirty old women out there too.
Yep.
Like, let's not
forget Madonna and her 20-year-old boyfriend
Madonna
or whatever.
20-year-old boyfriend, and also there's some actor that is like married to someone who's like 20 years older than him.
Yeah.
And they've like recently that everyone's been like, hey, what happened here? They got together when he was 19.
Oh.
You know, disgusting. And it's like, you got to do what you got to do.
Look, for the most part, I really just think people should just be able to do whatever they want. As long as it's, nobody's getting hurt and everything's consensual.
Well, you could say that the 19-year-old is going to be hurt.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you've got to, at a certain point, you've got to make people responsible for their own actions. And it's like, okay, we've decided as a society that is 18. That's when you can, drink. It's when you can do porn. It's when you can go to war and kill people. And evidently, society has decided that at 18, you can decide all those things, including who you want to date, which is really the lesser of all of those evils.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's that emotional manipulation.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is people say, well, I guess
it's like
you, the older person,
I'm operating on a different level to you. I can gaslight you. I can do all these different things to you. You don't even get it.
Yeah, you don't even know what's going on.
Which is true. They can do that.
Yeah. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Exactly. Piece of cake.
Piece of cake. No, if it was a piece of cake, then everyone would be doing it.
No, well, they need some provisos for the 19-year-old to initially consider them.
Yeah, for example, being a rich rock star.
Yeah, being a rich rock star. Yeah.
Well, good on him. He went out in public. That's very brave. He's a brave man. # brave.
Brave.
Yeah. So we're back. It has been a little while since the last show. Much has happened in that time, including, well, you got married.
I got married to a 19-year-old.
A guy married a 19-year-old. So
I guess that's what's been on my mind.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up first.
Yeah, I just wanted to take aim at the haters.
Yeah,
before sort of
announcing.
Yeah,
that you have married a 19-year-old. Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, at least you married her. That's very honest.
Yep. No, got married.
Noble.
Didn't think I would ever do that, but here we are.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I'd be 40 either.
Yeah.
Or 41.
No.
I didn't really, I obviously knew that eventually that would happen.
Yeah.
I just couldn't foresee it. Like, I couldn't see myself a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
I couldn't picture it.
No.
So
40-year-old virgin, maybe.
So
but
yeah,
married.
I got married. It was a simple, low-key day. Was it worth it? I'm happy to get married. Was it worth doing the ceremony stuff? I don't know.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Was it worth doing the legally binding contract? Well,
the legally binding contract is fine. It was more the expensive day that I was sort of, and and
the wedding celebrant who forgot to ask you if I do or not.
He skipped the I do's.
He skipped the I do's.
He wasn't interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, he did definitely. So he tried. Like, this is a lesson for all of you people out there: is never try and improv your celebrant duties. Never try and improv them. Never switch them up on the day. So he had laid out, like, essentially he'd given what he was going to say. And he goes, so what do you think of this? And we made a few tweaks and changes. We did not cut out the I do's. And then he was like, this is the bit where you say your vows. And we're like, we just don't want to do personal vows. So you can take that out. And he was like, okay, cool. That's all we said. We didn't say take out I do. We didn't say, take out to have and to hold or whatever else you're going to say.
Yeah.
We just said, we are not personally going to do vows. We're not going to say, mana since the day I met, blah, 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 blah. We just didn't want to do that.
No.
And so he was like, cool, no worries. Then earlier on the day, he came up to me and he goes, hey, look, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get you to sign your wedding contract. Your wedding registration is actually what it's called, but it is a contract. It is legally binding. It is so I'm going to get you to sign your wedding contract midway through the vows.
Yeah.
And I was sort of like,
what? You're going to stop and make everybody stand around?
I was like, so what? I was like, wait. Aren't we doing that just at the end?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, but if we do it midway through, then when you kiss, there's nothing further to do, and it's all locked in, all done, and there's no more disruptions.
I would have just done it secretly first. I would have been like, yo, let's just sign this shit first, and we're officially married, but we'll do the ceremony and celebrate then.
Yeah, well, Mana wasn't there, so she has to sign, so she couldn't do. So we couldn't do it that way. But I was sort of like already like, who cares? We'll just sign at the end.
Yeah.
It's more disruptive
to stop
and sign.
Yeah.
than sign at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know what he got in his head. Maybe he was feeling like he needed to leave about 10 minutes earlier than he had originally planned.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I tell you what, it's pretty easy $450 that he made that day.
What kind of celebrant is he? Like what denomination?
I don't know. The kind you find on the internet when you Google Auckland celebrants.
Right, okay. Because when I signed up to be a pastafarian celebrant, you know, there was different lists, there was different ones.
Yeah.
You know, there was like a Catholic one and a Christian one and a Jewish one and a whatever.
Agnostic. Is it agnostic?
Yeah, agnostic one. I don't know if there is an agnostic one.
Well, I actually think it was a non-religious one.
Non-religious
basically.
one. Yeah.
So anyway, that was weird in the first instance, but that's what fucked him up. Because he was like, cool, blah, 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 blah. Here's a little story. Guy mana, ha, 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 ha. We did all that. Now we're going to get, which is confusing to everyone because everyone knows that you sign everything last. That's the last thing you do. But we're going to stop and sign. So we stopped everything and we signed. And then we came back over to say the final things. And I feel like essentially there was a paragraph that he skipped.
Yeah.
He just read the next paragraph.
Yeah.
In his list of things to do.
Yeah.
And that fucked him. So he fucked himself.
Yeah.
Because he had he'd sandwiched this signing in the middle of it when he should have actually, and then he skipped the next paragraph, went on to the further paragraph, which had no I do's.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it was like, cool, you're married now.
I'd like to actually get my pastafarian celebrant license.
Yeah.
It could be, I mean, if it's $450 a day, I'd charge $500 and be like, yo, there's only a couple of pastafarian ones around.
Yeah, so obviously he was not the most expensive.
No.
And he was close to the cheapest.
Yeah. Exactly. So
$450 he was there for an hour tops.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more, and he would have had to do a wee bit of prep beforehand. Obviously,
he had to come and have a meeting with us. That was hard. That was 45 minutes,
and then he would have worked at home on what he was going to say.
He had to type that up.
He
had to type up those notes. So that's another good half an hour there. Yeah. So it's really 2 full hours. Maybe if we were being real generous, 2.5 hours. 450 in your pocket.
Yeah. Well, sounds all right.
Yeah. So I'm married now.
Well, that's good. And
despite saying no I do's, I am a married man.
Yeah.
No prenup. Don't care.
Don't care. Got nothing for her to take.
Let it burn.
All or nothing.
Yep.
Harley, we want prenup. Well, I'll be getting a prenup, but I've got to, not that I'm planning on getting married, but if I'm going to have a prenup, I've got to do it within the next kind of year or so, because we've been together for 2 years.
Yep.
So if you've been living together for 3 years with your partner and then you break up, your partner is legally entitled to half of your shit, even if you're not married. So she can take half your KiwiSaver, everything. A mate of mine at work, he had a nasty divorce, and he lost his... she took half his KiwiSaver amongst everything else, the house and half everything. But she took half his KiwiSaver. I was like, that is terrible. KiwiSaver is your superannuation for our international listeners. And I was like, she took half his KiwiSaver. It's got nothing to do with her. But anyway, brutal. Harley, we want prenup. Got a couple of shout outs here. I'd like to shout out to Wazza. He's tuning in. He hit me up yesterday. He was like, where's the show, guys? What's going on? What's the deal? Well, here it is, Wazza. Shout out to Wazza. He does a lot of driving, so he gets a lot of podcast consumed. And I got a shout out here to U2381347, who requested a shout out.
That's good he stopped by.
Yeah, it's good of you. So thank you for swinging by. U2381347. You know who you are. So I turned 41. You're not 41 yet, but you're getting there. And I turned 41 a little while ago, had a lovely birthday road trip up to Cape Reinga, the tip of the North Island.
Yep.
And a couple of eventful things happened on the way there. One was that, so we got to Cape Reinga, watched the sunset. This is on my actual birthday. So the day of my birthday, I'm there with my dear girlfriend, she who shall be named. And we're there, and Cape Reinga, according to the Māori myths, is like where the souls depart. I don't know if it's departing New Zealand or departing Earth, but they're departing New Zealand at the top of the North Island, right? The souls, I guess, I don't know if it's all the souls of everybody whenever they die or if it's the souls of everybody that day, I don't know. But at Cape Reinga, the souls go there before going on to the next world. That's what they say. So I was there, and I could feel all the souls blowing past me. It was windy. I could feel them all blowing past me, and heading into the stratosphere.
Upsetting the currents.
Yeah, I was getting in the way. I was affecting people. I was like, "Oh, sorry, mate." He pinged off down into the ocean. But anyway, I could feel them all, and I was like, "Okay, all right. I'm going to make a few promises to myself. All right, so I'm going to I'm going to go to the gym more, and these types of the usual kind of birthday sort of promises.
Yeah.
Most of which I've relatively stuck to so far.
In the last 3 weeks.
In the last month and a half. So far, so good. And so, yes, so that was cool. And then on the way back from Cape Reinga, there's no lights, there's no nothing. It's like pitch black. It's rural farmland. And she who shall be named was driving. And suddenly we see on the highway, on a corner on the highway, looming out of the darkness, a big black cow was just standing in the middle of the road. And I saw it first, and I was like, slow, slow, slow. And she did see it. And the cow had to go one way, and we had to go the other way. And fortunately, nothing really happened. But it got to this stage, we were very, very close. And it could have been, deadly. It would have been deadly for the cow. Could have been deadly for us, and it would have been deadly for the car as well, I assume. Yeah. So
you almost took a soul.
Yeah,
you almost took one.
Almost took one, or lost a couple of souls, even perhaps.
Yeah.
So that was quite scary, and perhaps a reminder from those souls. Maybe it was saying, "You better stick to your promises, boy. You're making promises up here at the place where the souls depart.
Yeah.
Give him a little fright on his way home.
Yeah.
Make sure he remembers those
any minute
those promises he made.
Yeah.
We can take you at any time we want.
Yeah.
Young man."
Not young. Man.
Yeah, so
some might say old man.
Some might say really depends on which era you live in.
That's right.
In the medieval times, I'm an old man. In our times, I'd say I'm obviously I'm middle age. I mean, like if the average life expectancy is like 82 or something like that for a male in New Zealand, so I might be exactly middle age. Oh dear. That's all right. It's been pretty long and fun so far. So the other thing that happened on the way back, and this was a crazy one, was so the dog has got a harness, right? The dog, or got a staffy. His name's Buddy. He's got a harness and he's got a seatbelt. And the seatbelt is like bought for like $3 on Sheen or whatever, or Sheen or whatever. It was like a shitty $3 one. And he had a second one, and it had already broken. The wee hook had broken, just like that, real easy, like made of nothing, just absolute crap. And this vest, and he was wearing his seatbelt. He had the window open. We're going 100 k's an hour on the highway, and he's never been able to get out of the window. So I wasn't worried about that because he's got his harness holding him in. And plus, he's got some sort of friggin' sense of self-preservation. You're not going to jump out a window at 100 k's an hour, are you? Unless you're really a moron. And so anyway, he's hanging his head out the window as you do when you're a dog, and he's got his front paws resting on the armrest, and he's poking his head out the window, and all is well. And then I sort of hear a funny noise, and I look over, and I realize that he's kind of hanging way out the window, and he's actually put his back feet now on the armrest. So instead of having his front paws on the armrest and his head out the window, he's got his back paws on the armrest and his whole friggin' body out the window pretty much. And so, and at that exact moment when I looked over, boom, he just fell out the window. 100 k's an hour. 100 k's an hour on the highway. Your staffy, who weighs 18 kilos, falls out the window. And it was like, if he had just fallen right then, that's it. It'd be a brutal, violent death. He'd either be dead straight away, or he'd be horrifically injured, and we'd have to scrape him up off the road, all broken and bloody with broken bones, and drive however many kilometers to the nearest, vet in order for them to put him down humanely, basically. It'd have been horrific, very traumatic. But he was hanging out the window by this shitty seatbelt and this crappy vest, this crappy harness that he's got. And so he was just dangling out the window, and I saw it. Luckily, I saw it as it happened. So I started indicating straight away. There was somebody right behind me, and I started indicating straight away and pulled over as smoothly as I could, because you can't just screech to a halt. And she who shall be named was screaming, "Para, para, para," which means stop, stop, stop. And I was like, "Silence, woman!" Because I was trying to pull. I was already doing literally everything I could. And the last thing this equation needed was a screaming person screaming. It looked like she was going to throw herself out the window to try and catch him. And so anyway, as I pulled over, right as I pulled over, boom, the harness broke. Not the shitty $2 seatbelt, but the harness came undone. The clip came undone, and he fell on the road. And on the side of the road, on the gravel, and he kind of cut his back feet a bit, grazed his back feet, but overall he was fine. Luckily, like no vet visit required, but it was very scary. It was an extremely close brush with death. It was 2 brushes with death on the same trip.
You always keep the window half up.
Yeah, well...
It's the moral of the story.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, except for, like, it had been a long time and he was totally fine, but what I failed to factor in was a couple of variables. You see, one, it depends if he's plugged into the middle seat belt or the side seat belt, because that actually buys you quite a few extra inches, depending on which seat belt you're in. And then on top of that, I think his harness had started getting a little bit loose, so it had been loosening up a little bit, which allowed him even more leeway. So it would have been fine, except for those factors. But also, I was like, what are you doing, dog? Why are you, like, climbing out the window? Are you stupid?
Well, he doesn't strike me as the sharpest tool in the shed.
He's pretty smart. He's pretty good.
I'm not sure he's a genius dog.
Well, I think he's not trained to be a genius. I haven't trained in any genius things, but he's pretty good. I think he's pretty smart. He figures things out. Yeah. He's obedient as well. That's important. That's a good thing about staffies. Well, lots of dogs, I'm sure, but, you know, like... They're good. They're obedient. They understand. They get it. They know what's going on.
Yeah, well, lucky he didn't.
Yeah.
That's what we can say.
Oh, it would have been so traumatic. That'd be terrible. I'd still be in mourning right now. So yeah, I think that was the souls of Cape Reinga just reminding me of my mortality and the mortality of those that I love.
Life is fragile.
Life is fragile, exactly.
Well, what else will you talk about?
Well, the following month we went for another road trip. This time for she who shall be named my girlfriend, she who shall be named's birthday, and we went to Whitianga, and we went to these hot pools, like a health and safety nightmare. These hot pools, they serve you alcohol in the pool, which is awesome. You can eat food. I was watching people. They had these food, they'd be like, "Oh, can I get some, some chips and spring rolls and, whatever else?" And they'd bring it over, the staff would bring it over, and people would be sitting in the pool with the plate on their hand in these hot pools full of bacteria with like 100 people in them. And, with their wet hands, they're like reaching in and eating the chips, dip it in your sauce. And then I watch them, and they'd put their hands back underwater, and then they'd take it out again, like greasy fingers in the water. And then,
great way to eat some food.
And then on top of that, right, there was no toilet. I mean, there was a toilet, but all these people were being plied with alcohol. I didn't see that many people going to the toilet, Just didn't see it. So, I was just a little bit curious about that, and I thought there was a few health and safety issues, like a lot of old ladies must break their toes there, I think, or old people. But it was very good. I did really like it. And then on the way back from that one, a big giant hawk, big beautiful hawk flew in front of the car and smashed into the windshield while she who shall be named was driving.
Did it crack the windshield?
It didn't crack the windshield, no, but it certainly cracked every bone in its body. We were going about 80. There was nothing she could have done. It wasn't her fault. The bird just chose the wrong time to like take off and flew, smashed right into the window, right at where her face was.
Freaky stuff. Yeah. I've been to those hot pools. They are good. There was no one serving us alcohol or food, though.
Right, yeah. Maybe because it was Saturday night or something.
Okay,
it was maybe that's it. Maybe because it was the weekend.
No one was serving it. There was no actual people around to serve.
It was quite busy when I was there.
Just, like, people were just swimming around.
Yeah.
If you wanted a drink, you had to go to the bar, one of the bars, and get it, and then you could take it into the hot pool. Yeah.
Well, I recommend those Whitianga hot pools. Excellent food as well.
The Lost Spring.
Yeah, that's the one. The Lost Spring. Nobody snitch on them about serving alcohol in the water.
Yeah, I lost one of my GoPro cameras there.
I found a GoPro while I was there. Just kept it.
Not a GoPro, DJI Action something. But
that's
basically,
what it was.
I've been filming the whole time that we were in the pools, and I'd got some like quite cool footage.
Yeah.
And I'd taken it out with me, and then somewhere between taking it out and having it in the changing rooms,
Yeah.
and then getting back to the car,
Yeah.
it just disappeared. And we went back there the next day, couldn't find it.
And do you think you just put it down somewhere and someone grabbed it?
Yeah.
When you were like getting changed or whatever, you put it down, forgot about it.
Yeah.
Someone came in and was like, ooh, GoPro.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So that was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But it was a good spot. A good spot.
You got one or should I keep going?
Well, I guess we should talk about, you've done this great painting behind us.
Yep. So I worked for a long time on this painting. For those on the listening on the audio later, it's a beautiful scenic bush scene. I call this one Deep in Your Bush.
Yep.
Deep in Your Bush. And it's sort of just, a reflection of how beautiful nature is. And nature, of course, like procreation is a part of nature. And so that's why the name as well, the double meaning of the name.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. That's actually why this show has been delayed, because I haven't finished
you can only
yet
go relative to the speed of your
my
paintings.
Exactly.
Because you have to have a new one every single episode.
Podcast. Exactly. So this one's Deep in Your Bush.
It's good. I thought it was more just thematically based on our short film, The Long Track.
Yeah.
Because we have been working on that vigorously.
Yep.
Furiously.
Well, so we've got a few deadlines coming up.
Deadlines.
There's a big deadline a couple of big deadlines on July 1st, and there's probably, to be honest, some festivals
earlier ones
before then.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
But one of the big ones, Fright Fest over in London. The deadline for submissions, the final deadline for submissions, is July 1st, and so we got this great wee horror. But we've got to get it completed in order to submit it by July 1st. And then Show Me Shorts Film Festival, their deadline is July 1st. So if any of our listeners have any short films, be sure to submit them to showmeshorts.co.nz. Those are two on July 1st that we really want to be able to submit to.
Yeah. We've already missed the Toronto International Film Festival.
We can still do it next year, though.
We've missed Bouchon Film Festival, and there was a couple other good ones that we missed so far that were kind of in April. Sort of
Melbourne International Film Festival.
Oh yeah, that was actually, as it turned out, been revealed to us, quite important.
But we can do it next year. I think it's still okay. I think we can submit. As long as we haven't put it online or anything, I think we can still submit to that next year.
Yeah. Problem with that is it's next year.
Yeah. It'll be towards the end of our prolific festival run.
So, we've been hard at work on that. We shot some pickups the other day, or I shot some pickups the other day. Harley wasn't there. He just piped in his voice later on. Harley no longer appears in pickups. He literally just does his voice later on.
I did organise those pickups. I did produce those pickups, but I couldn't be there because I was working. And the only reason why it was, we could either wait for me to be there, but the problem with that is that one of the main characters, he's got to grow his beard out for a role. One of the other actors, he's going to grow his beard out for a role. So we had to shoot these pickups before his beard got too long. And so we couldn't afford to wait for me. But luckily, my character is behind the camera. So additional dialogue recording.
Yeah. Hell of a way to make a living.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get paid, I don't think. Not really. I guess I got... No, I didn't get paid, actually, because all the other actors would get paid for any ADR. So I didn't get paid. It's not a good way to make a living.
Hell of a way to not have to be at the pickups, then, let's just say.
Yeah.
So I've just put those pickups into the film, and they look pretty good.
That's good.
Look pretty good. There was a lot of time and effort went into those, and essentially recreating a scene from the film, and in doing so, sort of changing sort of a massive prop that we had and trying to make it better, and that took a lot of time and thought. And Sam, who's worked
Shout out to Nocturnal.
Yeah, as
Nocturnal NZ.
Assistant editor on the film, but also he did some special effects work on the film. He's done some visual effects work on the film.
5150 listener.
And now he's designed a sort of a massive prop for the film with a little bit of help from me, and it looked pretty good. It looked pretty good, and I think that ultimately that reshoot has made the film better, and that was the whole goal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the problem with this film, apart from the fact that it's an expensive film, so there's a different weight of expectation on it than hey, just go out and film something, she'll be right, is what you choose to keep in versus what you choose to remove, and how much you keep in versus how much you take out, and kind of it's a very complex sort of thing that needs like constant consideration and revisement in a way that maybe some more linear stories don't. And so on the one hand, it's found footage, so you're not seeing scenes covered in a traditional way, which you'd think would make editing quicker because you don't have 5 different angles and all these, but in some ways it makes it more difficult because you've got how much do you show of this, how much you cut out, how much you show of that, how much you cut out, how much do you suggest this thing, how much do you leave to the imagination, and all of those things are a very fine line between. And also I think that because it's quite a unique found footage film, another part of it is I'm trying to do something different and interesting and unique. And any time in filmmaking that you try and do something different and interesting and unique, there's a chance that you just totally fuck it up and get it completely wrong. And none of that works. Whereas if you are kind of going more traditional, tried and true, you're like, well, I know this works. We've seen it work a bunch of times. I know how to play this type of scene because I've done it before and got it to work. Whereas now we're sort of going, okay, this is definitely to some degree quite experimental, and in experimenting, we have a sort of there's just way more risks involved. I heard George Lucas talking about it, where he was basically like, look, when you try and do something different, either it can be something like Star Wars and people can be like 100% on board with it and like it just totally work. But actually, that's the less likely time. The most likely time is it's not going to work because it's something because it's something that you're trying to be different to the things that work, and you never know if those are going to work. So it's certainly been an interesting, extremely tedious process to try and get the edit to a place where it evokes that kind of sense of something a little bit different and a little bit new and a little bit going against the grain versus it not sucking ass.
Well, mate, the bad news is you'll just have to do a whole other edit at some point. So there's the feature edit, and there's a lot of this footage will make it into the feature one day, hopefully, if we're lucky, if it all works out. But then the other thing too is what happens. Wait, what was I going to say? Oh, right, yeah. So we're currently aiming for a certain duration, for the film festivals, and a lot of great stuff has ended up on the cutting room floor. And
Absolutely.
So it's like, well, we'll just have to make the 30-minute version at some point. Include all that good stuff.
Yeah, and this is the other problem. Obviously, whenever you make a film,
because we're aiming for like a 15-minute film here.
The first cut was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that. I mean, that's not unusual in feature films. Like all my first cuts of our feature films have been 3 hours or 2.5 hours, and they've ultimately gone down to an hour and a half. So this process isn't a new one exactly, but it is a little bit different in short films. essentially our script was 23 pages. Probably a lot of short films are more like between 10 and 15 pages. And in some ways, when you have like a canvas of an hour and a half to work with, even though you're cutting out stuff, obviously there's still a lot of stuff in. By virtue of that length, you have time to sort of tell stories, develop characters, all those sorts of things. Whereas in a short film, you have just so much less time. And I've always maintained this, that and I've had this discussion with a few different people, but I think that I much more gravitate towards feature films and feature film ideas now than short films in terms of like my ability to tell a story. Like, it's still much harder to make a good feature film because you have an hour and a half's length of time to fuck it up, or 2 hours length of time to fuck it up, and obviously I've only got, 15 minutes to fuck up the short film. But I just think the way my mind works, what I gravitate towards is longer stories. And so a short film is actually a big challenge to kind of go, I want to have a feeling like ultimately this is meant to be a feature film. And so, people that watch it go, I'd like to see this story expanded. Like, that's kind of the whole point of this. And to be able to suggest that, but fit within the parameters of a short film.
Yeah, well, it definitely makes it harder. That limited time is kind of part of what makes a good short film a really impressive art form, is to be able to tell a really good story in such a finite amount of time and make people feel all the ups and downs and walk away either having learned something or being asked a question or something like that. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Unfortunately, I do think that a lot of short films don't do that, but still succeed.
Yeah, well,
like as in the best version of a short film does those things.
Yeah,
but a lot of short films are just like a joke.
Yeah,
or a twist.
Yeah,
or and they seem to work too. As in, like, they're at a good. Those types of shorts also get into good festivals and have the opportunity to be successful. So I don't know. I don't think the standards are lower exactly, but it's like I feel like there's a lot more latitude on what people accept as a short. What a short could be. A short could be a punchline. A short could be, a sort of twist that flips everything on it. A short could be an actual story, but it doesn't always have to be.
Well, I remember when a short film that I produced, Dubai, was nominated for an award. It's like a 15...
He's still salty about this.
I'm still salty. A 15-minute film with actors...
Tried to incorporate all those things that you just said.
Yeah, all those things. Actors, locations, a full script, twists and turns.
Yeah.
It was all there. Good performances, real people. Yeah. And it lost the award. It was nominated for Best Student Film. It lost to a 2-minute animation with no dialogue. 2 minutes, that's insulting. That's so stupid. They shouldn't even be competing for the same thing. It's like, that's so dumb.
You know who else won like essentially just harkening back to that? So George Lucas's one of his first shorts was that.
Yeah,
exactly. Like a 1 minute animation with a whole bunch of things that went all around and was like the first thing to get him noticed.
I feel like back in those days though, animation was a lot more
radical.
impressive.
It was much more radical.
Yeah.
At the time, like it was very unique.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah. But
any jobber can do that.
Why I think why we didn't win is actually, I don't think it's because they thought that film was better. I think it was because they wanted to play the winners and they were already over schedule on their time for the event. Yeah. The event was, we've got to play, we announce the winners and then we play the winning film. And our film was 16 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, and this one was 2 minutes. And they're like, hey, perfect. Let's just give them a special nomination. They gave us like a special mention. They're like, let's give these guys who actually won a special mention, and then we'll play this 2-minute silent film with no dialogue and say that was the winner. I was like, what the fuck, man? The fuck?
I got to just quickly give these keys to my partner.
Oh, I was going to piss.
Think again, mate.
Do you want a beer when you get back?
No, I'm
Or is
okay.
all out of the beers? Oh, one more for me then. Well, listeners, I wanted to give a quick little shout out to our one listener on Twitch. I see you there. If you're on Twitch right now, you are the one that's listening. So thank you to our one Twitch listener. Very much appreciated. Now, okay. Oh, I see. And now we've got a spam message from Twitch. Cool. All right. I think I'm going to use this as an opportunity to take a leak. So we'll be back. 1 second. We'll be back. And we're back. Huh? Told you we'd be back. Here we go.
So, speaking of George Lucas, the immortal George Lucas, he just turned 80 a couple of days ago. George, I just want to repeat that. George Lucas, the creator of one of the greatest film
Franchises.
Six part, yeah, so we'll just say, like, I don't know what a 6-part film franchise is, but
Yeah.
I'm not counting the new ones. That's 4.
No, Quinn is 5.
Okay.
Quad is 4. Quince.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
So, the man that created one of the greatest, who made Star Wars. He created Star Wars. He came up with Star Wars.
Star Wars.
He fucking made Star Wars.
It's a great show.
Right?
It's a great show.
He fucking made Star Wars.
Well,
right?
the first 3 were good.
First 3 were.
The second 3 were decent.
And then the third 3.
And then ever since
you
then,
didn't finish the third
No,
3.
I gave up at Star Wars the last time I'll pay.
Yeah. So he turned 80. And that really hit me because I was like, well, shit. You want to talk about 40 being old? 80 is old. 80 is not young. 80 is not a young man. And I've been sort of meaning to do a YouTube video on George Lucas and my love and appreciation for him. And now he just turned 80, which just shook me because I was like, holy shit, he's 80. You know? And obviously a lot of these movies, a lot of these interviews, you know, he's like, what do you think your legacy will be? You know, what do you think this? What do you think that? And he's sort of like, well, look, you know, obviously I made Star Wars, but, you know, my legacy I want to be is that I was a good dad and I raised three good kids. And then he's also quite realistic.
Boring answer.
Well, he's also quite realistic. He's like, look, right now Star Wars has had this amazing impact, but we don't know how history will view, judge, or care about this in 1,000 years because some things kind of just disappear and some things stick around, and sometimes things in your own lifetime that don't stick around are the things that endure, and vice versa. So he's like, so yes, obviously Star Wars, but we don't really know if Star Wars will mean anything. He goes, maybe it will be my sort of introduction of digital technology, which I do think is a very valid sort of observation. But he's got a lot of good things to say in these interviews. Sounds like a very smart, articulate man. And I do want to wish him a happy birthday, George Lucas, the man who's probably more responsible than anyone for leading me down the path of filmmaking, I think. And wow, man, hell of a run. Hell of a run.
Or is he still making movies, or is he given up on that? Because, you know, old Clint Eastwood, still out there, 94.
Yeah, he's still
directing
a
new feature.
He's still rocking. And more power to him.
What's weird with Clint Eastwood is, why does he pull his pants up so high?
Because that's what you do when you're old.
But why?
Because when you're old, you feel like that's the most comfortable spot for them to be. You won't get it till you're old, mate. You won't get it till you're that age, and then you'll be like, this feels right. This feels good to me. The pants at this height just feels right.
Yeah.
So George isn't really making movies. He's sort of diverted a lot of his interest to philanthropic pursuits with his wife. And so he's donated a lot of money to various causes. And he's one of these people that have essentially pledged, you know, because he did famously sell Star Wars to Disney for $4 billion.
As you do.
And basically most of that goes, when he dies, goes to all these different things that he's set up. So it's a thing that Bill Gates and a bunch of other rich people have done, where sort of like all of their wealth goes to these different things. Which I think is very cool that he would do that. And in fact, in some of these interviews, he sort of talks about, he's like a very, it's really interesting, but he's like, he's a very for the people type of guy. He is a very, very much like the individual doesn't matter, societal, you know, is what matters, and you know,
he's a communist.
Yeah, and he's dirty commie, and
dirty commie,
and yeah, essentially capitalism and competition.
Yeah,
will get you so far, but actually working together will get society as a whole further.
Yeah, and
he's sort of very adamant about that in some of the things he does, some points he makes. And, you know, he even talks about this sort of, I guess, in an interview when he was sort of in his 50s, where he's like, yeah, like it was easy for me to just be a volunteer and go do things when I was younger. But then you kind of get busy and the success, and you keep saying, well, I will do it later, you know, now that I have the means, but you have the means, but you don't have the time. So the least you can do is sort of help with resources. And so I think that, you know, a huge part of why he sold Star Wars, apart from the fact that he didn't want to be running Star Wars when he was the Star Wars Corporation when he was 80, was that this was a way to kind of do this thing that is part of his fundamental philosophy, which is to sort of give money, give back, and sort of utilize and leverage his success to bring other people up. Which is pretty cool. But one of the things that in another interview he said, he was like, look, I have this amount of stories, and I hope that before my time is up, I get to tell all those stories. But somewhere along the line, he, I think, just was like, nah, I'm not doing that no more. I'm just, because there was another interview where he's like, I'm just going to make little films for me now with no Star Wars pressures. I don't care. You know, it's all good. Whatever they are is what they are, but I don't have any obligations of a company or a studio that it has to make a certain amount of money, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't think he did that at all. I don't think he made any of those films that he was planning to. This was, you know, just around his Star Wars retirement time. Also, another thing that I found very interesting was that essentially he was at a crossroads when he sold Star Wars. So he roughly sold Star Wars about, I think it was 2014 or 2016. I think it was about 10 years ago, around about 10 years ago. And he, at the time, was actively developing another trilogy of Star Wars films. And he sort of said in this interview, he's like, well, I know it's going to take 10 years and that means I'm going to be 80. I don't know if I'll still be alive when I'm 80. Do I want to invest that time right now in doing this? Also knowing too that people didn't like my version of the prequels. So what am I doing this for? Maybe, I should go away and do my little film sort of thing. And so I feel like he was like looking at his life at 70 and he was like, nah, I don't want to do another trilogy. And that means, therefore, that I don't have to hold on to Star Wars, but I can use that money that I'm going to make and not have that pressure on my back anymore of essentially having to run a profitable business.
Yeah. It's just a shame that he had to shit all over his legacy to do it.
Disney shit all over his legacy.
Well, but obviously we called it right here on the Sky and Harley podcast. We actually said, we had a long-winded rants about how Disney was going to ruin it. Because they just need to wring out every single dollar from it. Like they're going to take something much loved and make a million spin-offs. And on the one hand, as a fan, you're like, great, more content.
To begin with.
Cool, this is great because something which was very finite and bottled is now like, can be anything and we can have more of it. But I recall that my prediction, and I'm sure I wasn't alone, was that it was going to be a whole bunch of shit films were going to get made, a whole bunch of crap films that felt like fan fiction, we're going to get made and we're not true to the thing. And now we're seeing it happen, all the storylines are not, working because all the lore is all fucked up because the films are all out of order.
Because somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah. Just lots of things. It was just, And then on top of that, I feel like they just did a shit job of writing those films. Yes. It was like, okay, so what's bigger than the Death Star? What about the Mega Death Star? What about the Super Duper Mega Death Star? It's just the same story, guys. But shitter. You're retelling the same story. You're just doing it shitter.
And, and there's another famous interview with George Lucas where he kind of gets into that a little bit. And he's like, I essentially sold it to these white slavers. and then he obviously had to retract that.
Yeah.
So he was like, look, I shouldn't have used that analogy.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. But obviously that is out.
But that's how I really feel.
Well, exactly. But that is how I really feel. And he also says in that interview,
for Billy. I can't blame the guy. I can't blame him.
Well, it all depends on what you want and where you want. And I think that rightfully he was like, if I give Star Wars essentially to the people, the people can keep enjoying these Star Wars stories.
Yeah. Because
I don't want to do these stories anymore, or I don't have the time in my life to do these stories anymore, which was a sort of a good way to look at it, but unfortunately only if the stories are good that people want to tell with his universe, which a lot of people may argue that they haven't, and it has also led to this sort of re-examination of the prequels in the times that everyone shat on the prequels when they came out. And now everyone looks at them compared to the new sequel trilogy and it's sort of like, you know what? Yeah, it's pretty good ideas, actually. There's definitely a sort of now a resurgence of, you know what? And I think fundamentally what he said, which I do think is true, which is a sort of a poison chalice, is going back to the, he said, I wanted to do new things with the prequels and do interesting and different stories. But everyone just wanted Star Wars, like the old Star Wars. But I didn't want to remake the old Star Wars in the new prequels. And that led to a lot of backlash. And I agree. And now we've seen essentially J.J. Abrams be like, so people want the old Star Wars. Let me give them the old Star Wars. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, but we didn't want you to just redo the old Star Wars. So it is a bit of or everyone was on board for the first movie. This is everything we loved. But there is that sort of hollow feeling at the back of that, which is like, well, I've already seen this. The First Order is the Empire. And this thing is like the Death Star.
And emo Darth Vader is emo Darth Vader.
And emo Darth Vader is Anakin.
What's the kid's name?
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, the shittest villain possibly ever put on the silver screen. The shittest villain. I would kick his fucking ass. I could kick Kylo Ren's ass.
I don't know. Have you seen that topless shot of him?
Well, he's in good shape. He's in good shape. He's a Republican, you know, that guy.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He's been like, he's aiming to like.
Well, he is from the military.
And he's been keeping the Republicans kind of. He's trying to keep them more moderate.
He comes from the.
It's like a good Republican.
He's come from the military and driver. So.
That's funny. Was he a driver? I wonder if he was a military driver. That'd be funny.
Well, I think he. Yeah. Anyway, he was in the military before he became an actor. So I do think that like now we re-examine the prequels and be like, yeah, it was kind of cool that he didn't try and just rehash all the shit. You know, he did try and present new ideas.
I liked the prequels.
He did push technology in interesting ways that have now become like default go-tos. So it's really interesting. He famously doesn't like the new Star Wars movies and doesn't consider them Star Wars.
Adam Driver?
No, George Lucas.
George Lucas, yeah.
And he's absolutely right in thinking that. He did talk about it being like a breakup, where he's like, it's the hardest thing you ever do. And everything in your body is saying, don't do it. But you've just got to do it. And you don't go around to their house. You don't talk to them. You don't pop in, see how they're doing. You just straight off, cut it off. And that was his sort of, that's how he sort of summarized him selling. But it must be a huge thing because essentially with each, I'm sure there are some ones that he likes, but with each kind of new Star Wars, he's like, that's not what you should be doing.
My boy, what did you do to my boy?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Does he still watch them?
Well, some people are like,
my boy, what did you do to my boy?
There's lots of interviews with him where he's sort of like, I didn't watch it. And then there's some where he kind of just gives like, it was a very interesting, looks like they tried really hard.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, it looks like you had a lot of fun.
Yes, you must be very relieved to have finished that.
Yeah, it looks like you guys had a lot of fun on that shoot. The classic kind of...
You must be very proud of that.
Yeah, the veiled, I will refuse to give any kind of compliment or qualify this...
Wow, I can really see how much hard work you've put into that.
You really worked hard, guys. You worked hard. Looks like you guys had a lot of fun. So that has always been sort of his comments, although allegedly, and I don't know if this is true, but I can't believe it, which is where someone said that of all the new Star Wars things, his favorite was the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, which is arguably the worst, least sort of consistent making sense in terms of, because it's obviously set before the original trilogy, and I've watched it. It kind of breaks some fundamental things that I think, for example, Obi-Wan Kenobi's forgotten how to use the Force because he hadn't been using it for so long. And it's like, to quote Harrison Ford in the new Star Wars sequel, that's not how the Force works.
Yeah.
No one said anything to that shit.
Yeah.
And so for the whole bunch, and then he has this epic showdown with Darth Vader on Tatooine, where he essentially beats Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But in a
spoiler
alert.
If you haven't seen
Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I seriously suggest you don't.
Yeah.
Is he beats him? He beats him.
Yeah.
He fucks up Darth Vader
again.
Yeah. For the second time.
Cut off his other hand.
Now, when he's burning up in the volcano, you can believe he's dead. He ain't getting out of this. He's going to die down there. Should he have chopped his head off? Sure. But, that was his best mate. That was his Padawan, right? So I can buy that time. Shock, surprise, Emperor brings him back, puts him in this thing. He now becomes the most evil, most dangerous man in the universe, the biggest threat to democracy and freedom, the biggest threat to the Rebel Alliance, the worst, a murderer, a stone-cold killer. The worst thing, the thing that would haunt Obi-Wan for the rest of his days would be the fact that he did not kill him on Mustafar, when he watched him burn up. And he's like, damn it, Every day I see all these horrible, I'm reading in the news, Google News, Darth Vader does horrible thing. Darth Vader kills millions of people. Darth Vader chokes out my mates. Killed this Jedi, killed that Jedi, killed them all. Darth Vader does all this stuff. My only regret in life is that I didn't kill him on Mustafar. Guess what? He doesn't kill him again on Tatooine, where they had this epic showdown, and essentially what would make perfect sense is that somehow Darth Vader beats Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's like, look, I can't fuck with Darth Vader no more. He's too powerful for me. So I've got to go into hiding here. I've got to hide in the fucking caves of Tatooine until
deserts of Tatooine,
until someone can come along that can beat this guy.
Yeah.
Say this Luke Skywalker fella that I've been keeping tabs on.
Yeah.
Say his son that I've been keeping tabs on.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the guy to do it.
Yeah.
That would make sense in the context of the story. But obviously, for fucking Star Wars nerds beating vigorously to their Star Wars screens, going, oh, well, Obi-Wan's the good guy. Obi-Wan's got to win. Darth Vader can't win. So in this whole thing, Darth Vader is beaten. And basically, Obi-Wan's like, hey, bro, come back to the good side. Now that I've fucked you up, your mask's half off, you're all fucked up. And then basically, which is kind of a cool line, but he's sort of like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. And then Obi-Wan's like, well, you are truly lost then. See ya.
See ya.
I'm not going to kill you now.
Oh, it's the old classic. It's why Batman can never kill the Joker.
Well,
it's
the
old classic.
It's like you can't let him live. That's a big mistake you made. You can't do it twice. If you have the whole point of that fight was a duel to the death.
Yeah.
It wasn't a duel until I beat you and put you in this pile of rocks and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
And that just made no fucking sense whatsoever.
Well, that's the thing about all of them, is that the law doesn't make that much sense.
The law doesn't make sense because
anymore. It's all the timeline's all fucked up.
The timeline's all crazy because that's the thing.
Nothing makes sense.
They could never meet prior to, Star Wars: A New Hope. It just wouldn't make sense.
Well, I also saw exactly. It wouldn't make sense. And I remember I saw something the other day that was like, no, you can call me Old Ben. It was like Obi-Wan. I haven't heard that name since.
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan. I haven't heard that name in like 10 years or 5 years or whatever that.
But the original was original was like Obi-Wan. I haven't heard that name
in a long time.
In a long time.
Long
it's like,
time.
Do you mean like a little while ago?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a little while ago.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so there's just too much retconning for the sake of what do we want to see? We want to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader have an epic duel again. Yeah. How can we get there? And it's like the answer
and have
is
neither of them win or die.
Yeah, exactly. And the answer is you can't. You can't do it and have that done well or make sense. You can have it, but it just at the expense of the entire Star Wars canon.
Well, I saw a little bit of The Mandalorian.
Yep.
And
the Mandarin,
I was not feeling it. I saw shout out to 5150 listener Jason Rogan.
Yeah, who recommended that to you?
No, he was watching it at his house when I went there one time, and I sat and I watched a little bit, and I was like, "This is shit. This sucks." It was Temuera Morrison.
That's. Or was that The Mandalorian, or was that Temuera Morrison's one? Because that is worse than The Mandalorian.
Oh, was there a different? Was there more?
Yeah, that's the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure which one it was then. Yeah. Might have been the Book of Boba Fett, maybe. Either way, I watched it and I was like, this is so amateur. Like it was like. It looked really amateur. It was like they were just on like a hill somewhere. It was like looked like we could film it, And it was like he had his costume on, and they were kind of like having their like sort of relatively shitty sort of storyline and dialogue, and the action wasn't that great. And I was like, this almost looks like we could have shot it. I think the problem is Temuera Morrison looks really little now.
Well, I've met Temuera Morrison in real life.
I met him too.
No hate.
Got a picture.
I hang out. I filmed with him. I filmed his premiere of his straight to DVD B movie.
Yeah, Fresh Meat.
No.
I met him when he was promoting Fresh Meat.
No, so this was probably like 3-4 years ago, and essentially he had made this film, and they were having the premiere of it, a premiere screening of it. He and his wife were there. you know, he was a lovely guy. And,
Booby Fett.
Actively admitted that, like, this is probably not a good film that I've made here. You know, sort of chatting with us. And it was just like a kind of a generic action movie, you know, probably shot somewhere in Europe for very cheap and, like, not good, right? And at that time, I was like, this is a little man. He is a small man.
Yeah.
And one part of that is because he's 60.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously you shrink as you get older. But the other part of that is he was never actually that big. He bulked up obviously for Once We're Warriors to look like kind of a beast, but he was like Mike Tyson kind of back then. Now he's obviously not Mike Tyson and short. Therefore, he doesn't look like a very intimidating bounty hunter.
No, but he is just a simple man trying to make his way in this universe.
Well, look, I don't really want to throw shade at Temuera Morrison, but I will for his also his acting is not amazing as Boba Fett.
Yeah.
You know, he just talks kind of slow and he's does a little look.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I'm gonna do that. This is how the whole thing's gonna be. Very little emotion and not really selling anything that's happening around me.
Well, I think that might be what I saw, because what you just did then was exactly what I saw.
Yeah. And like, look, he's a fantastic actor in other things. He's just not fantastic in the Book of Boba Fett.
I recommend to our international listeners to go and watch Once Were Warriors.
If you want to see the man,
him in his prime.
Yeah, you want to see the man act the shit out of something.
Yeah.
You want to see an Oscar-worthy performance. A performance.
Is that what all this is about? All this crying and slamming of fucking doors.
So, yeah, allegedly too that Once We're Warriors performance was so powerful, so you know, spoke so much to Marlon Brando that Marlon Brando wanted him to be Dog Man in the island of Dr. Moreau after seeing Once We're Warriors. Get this guy in as Dog Man. Get him in as half dog, half man. Island of Dr. Moreau, another fascinating movie lore kind of thing where the director got essentially fired off set. Marlon Brando running wild, Val Kilmer running wild. And then allegedly the director snuck back onto set playing an extra in one of the scenes. So was observing the new director direct his movie as he was an extra on set. Marlon Brando, of course, didn't learn any of his lines, was very overweight. Temuera Morrison, who played Dogman, I don't know if Dogman is his real name in it, but allegedly, you know, his part was sort of like, the Wolfman or something like that, and there's way more to it, but a lot of that got cut out. And The Island of Dr. Moreau is just a crazy fucking film. Like, it is crazy. It's worth a watch, but it is very, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to see Temuera Morrison in his prime, you can't say that it is the Book of Boba Fett. You can't say that it is the sort of cameos in The Mandalorian. And I really think you have to go back to some of his New Zealand feature films, like what Once Were Warriors, if you actually want to believe, like, hey, actually, this guy's an awesome actor. He's just got to be put in the right position. And, you know, that's the problem is, like, the other big problem
You could also look him up on Shortland Street.
Dr.
Ropata.
Well, the other big problem with the Book of Boba Fett, or like, essentially this whole, again, like, essentially what we're talking about is, like, the bastardization of the Star Wars universe. And it's like, cool, we need more, like, everyone loves Boba Fett, so we need to make a TV series about Boba Fett. And it's like, all right, here's the problem.
You're ruining the legacy of Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, again, is a stone cold killer who says fucking pretty much nothing and has a spaceship called like the Slave One.
Slave One. Which he regretted. He regretted calling it Slave One. Here's a little bit of lore for you. Boba Fett regretted calling Slave One because it indicated the existence of Slave 2. It's true.
So
He had a backup ship the whole time.
So that's what's weird is
I read it in a book.
If you take that original concept and go, how is this going to work as a TV series? You go, well, it doesn't really work because this bounty hunter is a fucking bad guy. Goes around like killing people all the time
for money. He kills people for money.
He does not care.
The shittest reason to kill people.
He cares not if they're bad or good.
No.
Even if they're the last Jedi, the last hope of the universe, he's going to try and kill them. If there's money involved.
Well, it's a good payday, The Last Jedi.
The last year, exactly. So no redeeming qualities about this man. Also doesn't talk much. That's his whole deal. And then we go, cool. Well, he can't do any of that in the TV series. We got to turn him into a good guy. He's got to talk more because otherwise there's just not going to be possible for it to really work. And he kind of has to be a good guy now. And it's like, okay, well, he's not Boba Fett then, is he? He's some other fucking guy you've imagined in this other fucking universe, which is not Star Wars, just because at the time, Star Wars fans really latched onto his look and him not saying anything and the mystery around that. And it's like, let's dispel all that mystery. Let's just make him this guy. Not good.
Well, moving on from Star Wars.
Do we have to?
If we could. So I have been, but still staying in showbiz, I have been on a hot streak lately of acting. And it's in part to do with this new look of mine. If you're watching on the live stream, you'll see I'm going for the, it's sort of Heihachi.
Yeah, full
Heihachi from Tekken.
Yep.
Heihachi, but white. The white Heihachi. That's what it's like, white Iverson, white Heihachi.
Yeah.
And so I'm 2 for 2 at the moment. I'm 2 for 2. I've got a 100% success rate with this new look at my auditions because audition 1, I went along, bam, nailed it. Landed the ad, filmed the ad. Okay? Audition 2, went along, bam, nailed it. Landed the ad, filmed the ad. So I filmed 2 ads since the last time that we did a show. So 2 from 2. I'm really interested to see how the third one goes. But I'm enjoying this new look. I'm enjoying this new look of mine. Now,
well, also, you should mention you also played a homeless man in a corporate ad that we just recently did.
Well, I was going to get to that. I was just going to say, like, so I filmed these 2 ads. One of them's come out. Now, if you're out there, you can look it up. There's a one called Puhoi Yogurt. I've shared it. I'm sure I've shared it on the Guy and Harley Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. But if I haven't, I will. And it's it's an ad. I don't say anything. I'm in it for a few seconds. It's a 15-second ad. Easy money, my friends. And then the new one hasn't come out yet. It's for Lafare Coffee, and it's going to come out It's going to come out in 4 days apparently. And so that was fun and easy shoot. The DP, I don't think you'll be impressed with this guy. The DP was filming on a Arri Alexa 35.
Ooh. So that is what some in the industry may now say is the best digital camera available, like as in the world.
Yeah.
I think it is the most close to the most expensive. This is digital, so obviously some people still shoot on film.
Yeah.
Film cameras are expensive. Some people shoot on IMAX. IMAX is expensive, but like just as a digital camera.
Yeah.
If you said today, what is the best, like that can do the most? Some people would argue it's the Alexa 35.
Yeah.
Which is quite new as well.
That's what he had. And
it's I think it's worth $150,000.
Oh, fuck. Well, I said to him, I got to ask, what's that? What kind of camera is that? Yeah. He told me, and I said, because my mate's going to ask about that. My mate's going to ask me about that. He's going to be disappointed if I don't ask.
Well, I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 of those in New Zealand at the moment.
Wow, one of them filmed.
One of them captured your how I like to say currently is your hairstyle is an insult to your face.
My hairstyle is an insult to my face.
Yes.
Because my hairstyle makes my face is so handsome, and my hairstyle makes
your
me look
face
so
is
much
a
worse.
lot more handsome. Yes, basically.
Than this look that I've got.
Yeah. Like this is like an abomination to your to what you like. What
I could look like.
A mad professor.
Yeah.
Really mad professor.
But the funny thing is, I feel like it's really working for me. It's the acting.
Financially speaking, absolutely.
No, but I also feel like sometimes I walk down the street and I feel like I'm getting the glad eye from the fear of sex. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the glad eye. I'm just walking down the street and I'm like, and I look over at somebody and then like she's looking at me and I'm like,
I really, that's not a glad eye.
She's frightened, Harley.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm just walking past.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
like,
what the fuck?
I better stay away from that dude.
It also was like, is that man old or young?
Is he old?
Is that man 65 or 35?
On the one hand,
what the fuck?
On the one hand, okay, I've got old people here. But
You've got Mr. Crawford here.
Beautiful baby face.
You've got Mr. Crawford here right now.
Our old science teacher.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Mr. Crawford, our old science teacher.
You've got Gargamel here. Remember Gargamel?
No, this is Hiahachi.
Is it Gargamel? You got Mr. Burns here.
Mr. Burns doesn't have hair.
Excellent. That's
exactly.
So I mean, I get. Look, you can't deny the success that those ads have.
I'm 2 from 2. Okay, so I'm 2 from 2 with these with the acting. Okay?
I also do think it's important to note that there is a trend currently in New Zealand, and I think it's not just New Zealand, but it's like moving away from good-looking people in ads, like moving the opposite. The pendulum gone the opposite way, where it's like we want the freakiest, weirdest, wackiest, most fucked up looking people, and they're just average Joes now. They're just average guys, but they're like, we don't want handsome, we don't want good looking, we just want weird. The weirder the better, and as long as they look really fucking weird, really fucking out there, that's our guy. That's the person we wanted this ad. Fucking weird people.
Yeah, well, look, you're right. There's something to it. There's something to be said for all that. And you're right.
Because, I mean, even the guy that you were acting opposite, like in this first ad that's already been released.
The yogurt ad, Puhoi yogurt.
Is not a debonair, handsome man.
No, he's a schlubby guy.
He's a schlubby,
he was a nice guy.
Lovely guy, schlubby, weird-faced looking, weird-shaped head, weird-faced looking dude.
I hope he doesn't listen.
In the pool.
Hope he doesn't tune in.
That's a lot in life. There's a character actor. You can do, you don't have, not everyone can be.
Don't get offended.
Not everyone can be a leading man.
Yeah.
Like we work with what we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing about me, right, is that I'm what's known as surprise hot. I'm surprise hot. Which is where you look at me and you kind of go, oh yeah, bald old guy, gross. Ugh. But then you look a little closer and you kind of go, actually, something about him. He's kind of. And that works really great for the ads. You see, that works excellent for the ads because basically, on the one hand, yes, they want these schlubby everymen, but on the other hand, it's kind of nice to not be repulsed by the product you're buying.
So what did you do in the second ad?
So the second ad, again, no dialogue. So the last 3 ads I've done are no dialogue. And I've said multiple times, I hate these auditions with no dialogue. They're so hard. What can you do? What can you do?
Yes.
But I've finally figured out how they work.
Well, on the same.
You just show up and you do nothing. That's the trick. You show up and you just do nothing.
They tell you to do something, you don't do it. And you just do it, you just look one way or the other.
If they've got no dialogue, right, you just show up and it's all about the look. So just show up and they'll tell you to do whatever you got to do. You do the thing and that's it. You don't need to overact or think about it too much. They're just essentially casting you. When there's no dialogue, they're just really casting you and perhaps your ability to pull the occasional funny face or whatever. But
So what did you do in the second one?
Oh, so in the second one, I was a no dialogue. This is all top secret. I've already said the brand. I probably shouldn't really say what happens in the ad. So in the ad, I have no dialogue and I am in a graveyard. I'll just say that until the ad comes out next week.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've already said the brand, so I can't be up here on the Guy and Harley podcast giving away the plot to the new advertising campaign. But yes, it was good. It was good. Now,
which graveyard?
Onehunga graveyard, big old one, big was old. I mean, it's not as cool as the Dunedin. What's the suburb? The graveyard next to our Opaho graveyard next to our school. But it was good. It's good. It was a good graveyard. Creepy, old. But yes, anyway, so aside from those 2 ads, which is awesome, right? I also acted in this yesterday I acted in a 48-hour film, and I've had a horrific injury, which you can see on the live stream.
Yeah, I do see that.
That large.
I was going to say cut yourself shaving, but it just didn't quite work, does it?
It just didn't quite make sense unless I was shaving my head, because I'm not actually bald. I'm not actually bald. I just shaved my head to make it look this way. So if you're looking on the live stream, I've got a large gash on my head now.
I mean, you also will recall, like, if you want to talk about your look right now, it's like we literally shaved this hairstyle for you.
Yeah, in the project. I should do a before and after.
Yeah. And we were making fun of that look.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We were not like, hey, this is a cool guy right here. We were like, this is a man that is completely given up. This is a man literally at the end of his rope, who has stopped caring about his looks.
If you haven't seen The Project, we're not talking about the New Zealand News and Affairs show. We're talking about The Project on our Pigville YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Pigville and the number 2, Pigville and the number 2, and it's called The Project. And there should be I believe there's a playlist there of all of the episodes. And in one of the episodes, I think it's like episode 8 or something like that, we shaved my hair just like this, except for I was like 23 or something like that, or 20 something, and so it looked silly and funny. And now I'm exactly the same. My face hasn't aged a day. But the hair now completely matches. So that was good though. Filming that 48-hour film, I whacked my head. This was my fault. Although when I say it was my fault, I mean the set was incredibly unsafe. It was a half-built house, and it seemed to be getting built shoddily.
Yep.
But But anyway, we were there, and I whacked my own head by my character gets killed, and I fall down on the ground. And when I did that, I fell down and hit my head on something which was down on the ground, like a corner of something, a stacked up pile of something, and I whacked my head on the corner of it mid-shot. So it was my fault, but also it's exactly the type of thing that you're supposed to remove for health and safety reasons so that dumb actors don't smash their heads on it. But yeah, that was good. So the 48-hour film festival, for our international listeners, I'm sure they have some version of it overseas, but is you write, shoot, and edit a film in 48 hours, and the deadline is 3 hours from now. So in 3 hours, all of the films need to be in. Yesterday, I was just acting in it, so I just had to show up, do my lines. It was pretty good. It was easy enough. Took all day. It was easy. Took all day. And that was cool. And then the other thing I acted in was playing a homeless person. So in the 48-hour film, I was playing a rich guy who was getting his house built. The opposite. In the day before that, though, I acted in something, paid gig, for Guy Pigden as a homeless person harassing a caretaker.
Yeah, look, I'm not...
That writing.
That's what I mean. Like,
that writing.
I was looking at it and I was like, I've got one good actor here.
No offense. No offense.
No offense,
Nocturnal.
Sam. No offense, Sam. Well, I don't think he would define himself as an actor, so I don't think he'll be offended. But I was like, I've got one good actor here, and his acting is not good. And
what
then
did I do?
and if you look, and then his acting is not good. And he's the best actor.
What was wrong with my acting?
All of it was just terrible. It was just the dialogue. Was just terrible. But it was just very stilted, bad. Like this is the thing about scripts, right?
I feel like you're blaming the acting.
Yeah.
For the script.
Or no.
As in the line of dialogue didn't make that much sense.
No, what I just said was the script. The script is the problem, and that's why
you can't polish a turd. You can't polish a turd.
Well, that's what I mean is that if you're, and I say this is,
have you looked at the footage? Have you
That's why I have this thought.
Yeah.
Is because I looked at the footage and I was like, this is not good.
No,
this is not good at all. But again, we didn't write the script, and it's not my job to touch up the script either, because I was not confident, nor did I think that that's what they wanted. I didn't want for me to do a dialogue pass on the script. That's not what I thought they wanted. What I think they wanted is that script verbatim.
Yeah.
And so that's what I gave them.
No improving allowed, Harley.
So as in you could change a word here or there, but essentially they wanted this to be said, and it's like, well, there you go, they said it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that,
well, you wrote it.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing is you just have to be very aware that if you do have a good actor and it doesn't sound good, it's probably the writing.
Yeah.
There's just some things that you cannot, and if you look at Shortland Street, just watch a whole episode of Shortland Street if you're wondering about it. If you want to see this in action. But if stuff does kind of sound stilted and weird, it's not necessarily the actor.
It's easy to blame the actors.
It's quite possibly the dialogue, and everyone's dialogue in that script was not what I would say would be good or passable. And so it's not going to be my favorite thing to put together, that's for sure. But it was a good shoot in the terms of it was
quick, easy,
smooth, easy shoot. Like, and it's also one of those times where, so essentially, what do you want from, a shoot is you want to be able to move quickly. You want everyone to know their lines, and you want it to look nice. And sometimes you get sort of, when you shoot outside, this is when things have the highest chance of not looking nice, because essentially you, to some degree, unless you're shooting an ad, like a big ad on an Alexa 35, then you can control outside. Like I imagine they had some big ass fucking lights up.
Actually, no, they had like a big, they had no light. They had like a big diffuser / flicky thing that was just,
I would count that.
Yeah, but it was basically just a big, it wasn't lights, it was a big flecky.
Yeah.
A big white thing reflecting the light. That was really it. They didn't have much in the way of lights, actually.
Well, I would argue that that's still the same thing, which is essentially you're controlling the light because you have access to things that can diffuse, block, or reflect the light. Smaller shoots, you are less likely to have that, so you're then more prone to whatever the conditions throws at you. So if it's really bright and sunny, that's going to actually look horrible, and everything's going to look kind of overexposed and blown out, or people are going to be squinting, and it's just going to look terrible. And if you have sort of clouds coming and going, then it's really not going to match, because you're going to have one shot where it's really bright and one shot where it's really dark, and 1.5 shots where it's going to ruin takes because it goes from light to dark. We had what I would call like the absolute optimal conditions for shooting outside, where essentially you have this light layer of cloud that is just essentially diffusing the sun like a massive softbox, like a massive thing that you would have with the Alexa 35. We had that just naturally. And also the light just happened to be at a certain level where it just kind of gave everyone like some nice ping, a nice little pop, but not too much. And so actually everyone looked amazing, and it looked very beautiful. And yes, you could obviously still bring in more lights and stuff like that. And I did have lights to hand, but I was sort of like, I didn't need to fuck with this, because whatever I do is not necessarily going to make this better, because this just looks very nice, even, soft, and neutral. And it's really great for us. So we just got very lucky, because that shoot could have took twice as long if the weather conditions were less favorable. Homeless Man.
Well, it was good. It went well.
Homeless Man.
It was a good shoot. Easy money. Now, I've actually got something here for the viewers to see and listeners to hear about.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Pigville Productions has reached 100,000 subscribers. We're actually closer to 150,000 subscribers now, to be honest, on the Guy and Harley, on the Pigville Productions YouTube channel. That's Pigville and the number 2. And I'm going to show you a little something I've got here, okay? Bam, bam, bam. Bum, 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 bum. That is the 100,000 subscribers official YouTube plaque. Plaque?
Yeah.
Plaque.
It's
Yeah.
a plaque.
It's a plaque, probably. $100,000, the silver play button. That's what we've got. Pigville Productions Limited for passing 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. We've made it. We've made it, Mum. Finally. I remember when I went to the Viva La Dirt League 100,000 subscriber party. We didn't have a party.
No,
we just took it in our stride.
Yeah, we didn't need to celebrate the small wins.
Yeah. So 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we've got the plaque to prove it. So today's a good day. Is it gonna?
Do you think it'll stand up? No. Will it stand?
There you go.
As soon as we bump that.
That's definitely falling over soon.
It's falling.
That's definitely falling over soon.
Yeah, and it's just, like, I love that we have that. Looks cool. It's just such a shame. Well, it's a shame that it took 18 years or however long. We joined YouTube in, what, 2006?
2006, yeah.
So, yes, it's a shame that it took 18 years, but that's not the real shame. What's the real shame, and I'm sort of noticing this too with my channel, is that subscriber counts have essentially that. In fact, I just saw someone talking about it on YouTube. They're like, subscriber counts are a vanity metric that really are completely meaningless now, because the way the YouTube's algorithm works is that when we post a video, what you would think is 100,000 people get
to see it. 100,000 people who see it.
It gets put on their feed.
Yeah.
Because there are subscribers who have subscribed.
They subscribed so that they would see our videos whenever we post them.
That's literally the point of having subscribers. That's literally the whole purpose, is essentially, we like these people and we would like to see more from them. So please notify us whenever they do that, hence subscription. But sadly, what's happened with the YouTube algorithm is that essentially YouTube has gone, no. What we've discovered is that even though you've subscribed to these channels, you don't always watch everything you're subscribed to. So what we're going to do is just share whatever we want with you. And if we think that this post by someone you subscribe to suits all the things that you've been looking at recently, we'll share it with you. Otherwise, you'll never fucking see it. And this is very problematic. It's problematic for people with 100,000 subscribers. It's problematic for the idea of building a fan base on YouTube. It's problematic for discovery of new ideas and concepts inside your echo chamber. And in fact, I think that's the biggest one, because essentially, you know, if you subscribed to the guy in Harley or to Pigville because of, say, one of our skits, and say it's that Dragon Ball Z skit because you like Dragon Ball Z and your searches relate to Dragon Ball Z on YouTube, whatever that is. And then we share another skit, which is not Dragon Ball Z related in any way. It's just a skit from Pigville. You're not going to see that because the algorithm's going to go, yeah, see here, here's the thing. There's Dragon Ball Z crossover here with this subscriber, but because this wasn't Dragon Ball Z related, we're not going to share it with you, even though you subscribe to them. And the problem with that is, what if you just like other skits that aren't Dragon Ball Z related?
What if you like the creator?
Exactly. What if you are genuinely, like, that's the thing. I think that's the most important thing, is like, what if you are genuinely fans of these people, not based off any specific criteria that you happen to search? You're just a fan of them. You just want to support them. You want to watch their shit. And like, I feel like it's, I'm not going to say it's the death of YouTube, but I'm going to say it's like a huge blow to the YouTube community of like, why the fuck? I just hit like, you know, just make anything and hope that the algorithm works out for you. Don't tell people, like, don't build a fan base because the fan base is not going to see what you do. And it also diminishes the chance that, okay, cool, we know this Dragon Ball Z guy likes our Dragon Ball Z skit. So all we have to do is make Dragon Ball Z skits until fucking infinity. Exclusively. And that's another problem, because like ultimately creators want to create, well, they want to make art. They want to create, they want to tell stories, but they don't want to tell the same story over and over and over again. And that is the big problem, because essentially there is safety in telling that same story over and over again, because you know that the algorithm will go, okay, well, all these people like that last one, so if you make something similar, we'll share it to all those people. And that's what you want, right? You want the views. But if Harley goes, hey, I've got a new idea, I don't want to do that thing that we've done for the last 100 things. I want to do just something really unique. It's really interesting. It's really interesting to take on something completely different. But I think our subscribers will really get a kick out of it. I think they might really enjoy this. Well, who cares? Because they won't see it. Because literally the algorithm will go, sorry, sorry, fuck you. And that is the shame, because it essentially means that all content creators who are starting to be successful, get a measure of success, are trapped in that lane. And if they want to go out of that lane, they will be punished for it. And that does not lead to to equity amongst the content space. It does not lead to artistic swings like we talked about with our short film. Do not be taking swings on YouTube. Do not be trying different things on YouTube. That will only bring you misery and pain. So, unfortunately, this vanity metric is
irrelevant now.
It
looks good on the wall, though.
But it does look great on the wall.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a goodie. And certainly there'll be some envious people out there who aren't clued up to,
how it really works.
Yeah, how it really works, sadly.
Those two boobs can get a fucking 100,000 subscribers.
I mean, it only took us 18 years. If you said to a new content creator now, like a new 20-year-old or 17-year-old.
Yeah, bro, you'll be 38.
He would go, fuck this. I'm quitting right now.
Yeah.
There is no chance. Nah. You guys are failures. You guys are failures for it taking this long.
Yeah.
That's how I view you.
Yeah.
That's how I view this success as a massive failure.
Yeah. Yep.
But we did it.
No, we did it. It's good. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So it is a very sad episode of Who's Dead this week.
Yeah.
I am, of course, talking about my Trade Me ad. Now, there was a Trade Me ad that I put up 8-9 years ago now, when we lived in the very first house that we lived in Auckland when we first moved here. It might have been 10 years ago. I put this ad up, and the thing about Trade Me is they've got this free renewal. You've got a free renewal. You can renew if you list something on Trade Me and it doesn't sell, you can renew for free every 2 weeks until the end of time.
Yeah.
Until the big crunch.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of the big bang. At the big crunch, that's when the Trade Me ad ends.
Yeah.
And I've been renewing this thing every 2 weeks consistently. Rain, hail, or shine. Doesn't matter what I'm working. Doesn't matter what part of the world I'm in. I've been consistently renewing this thing for free every 2 weeks for 10 years. It's had more than 80,000 views on it, and it's an ad for an old flat of ours, but I made a funny ad. I put a poem in it, and then I also put a link to our YouTube channel. And basically what I did was I targeted people between a certain age who are looking for a flat in Auckland and sent them to our YouTube channel. So I've actually met some people in real life that have been like, yeah, you know how I first heard about you? Trade me.
Look, me too. I've had a few people go, do you have a Trade Me ad? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's another one of our harebrained schemes.
Yes. We do have that.
So this ad has been up there, and I've been faithfully, diligently renewing it every 2 weeks. And something changed. I think it changed with my Gmail, where instead of going into my main place, so I'd get a notification, oh, you've got an email, okay, renew it. It went into like a social folder or something like that. So basically, I just didn't really see it. I didn't see the email. Something changed, and instead of going where I would see it, it went into this other folder. I didn't see it. Once they notify you, once you get the email, you've got 48 hours. That's how long you've got to renew. And if you don't renew, they take the ad down. Well, finally, after 10 years, I lost it. I did not renew it. And so 80,000 subscribers, 80,000 views, sorry. I was aiming for 100,000. I was like, this is going to be awesome. I'll post about it. I might even be able to get in the fucking paper for this. I'll figure something out, it'll be good. So what I did do, though, was I relisted it. So it's not entirely dead. It is relisted. So it's the same ad. It was still free to relist it because you had to, but it's lost all its views.
Yeah.
So I lost the 80,000 views or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess in 10 years, we might have that 100,000 views again if I'm lucky. After I've wasted the time of another 100,000 people.
What's interesting is
who are looking for a flat.
Yeah, man, you've wasted so many people's time.
I took my phone number off it. Because I was like, man, I'm sick of these cunts calling me.
Yeah.
I don't have a flat. We haven't lived there for 10 years.
Does it still have the photos of that flat?
Yeah, I still got the photos, but I took off the photos of the outside, the exterior, so because I didn't want anybody like showing up and be like, "Hi, I'm here about the flat," and then you people are like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, in fact, somebody did message me, and they were like, "This is my flat." They did. They messaged me. They're like, "This is my flat," and that was when
we don't want any more people there.
That's when I took off the exterior shot. I was like, out of respect for them.
Did you reply to that, or did you just take the photo off?
No, I took it off, and I think I said to them like, "Yeah, I'll take that off. I'll take the exterior photo off." You know, I can't remember exactly what it was. They didn't follow it up, and they didn't flag it. You know,
because they could also be like, that's still the interior of my flat.
Yeah, that is. It is the interior of their flat.
Well, look, in your defense, there's a very high turnover of people at that flat because it's ridiculously expensive and it's not very good. So people come and go from that flat. Therefore, the ad
always relevant.
Is always relevant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even if it has nothing to do with us, and if anyone was to try and make contact through it, they would get sent to the wrong place, and it is a total and 100% waste of time.
Oh, imagine that. You're looking for a flat, right? You're busy, you're stressed, you've just been kicked out of your flat.
There's nothing worse than looking for a flat in Auckland.
Flatting is horrible. It's a pain in the ass. All right, here's an ad. I'm gonna have a look at this ad. Oh, look, it looks great. Awesome. I'm gonna message these guys. I read them. I read all the ads. I read all the messages. I just don't answer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've really pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, and yet
80,000.
80,000 of them, and yet none of them have flagged it. None of them have flagged this ad and be like,
which just speaks to the pure laziness of people in general.
The population. Well, there was some people that said, like they messaged me and they're like, okay, I don't know if this flat ad is legit because I remember this flat ad from last time. I was looking for a flatmate, you know, 2-3 years ago, and I was looking for a flat, and now it's still here. But anyway, here's my details, and I'd love to live with you. And I'm like, zip.
Mum's the word.
Mum's the word.
I really thought that you were going to tell me that Trade Me
had taken it down. Finally,
but it was your own ineptitude.
Yeah, well, it was Gmail set me up a little. Gmail, something changed because the email went to the wrong place this time.
Yeah,
it's weird, but yes. Anyway, it is still there. I just have to wait another 10 years to get those numbers up.
Well, I should probably just quickly mention what is the time? Yeah, I should probably just quickly mention that my close personal friend Alex Savage has just won the Eliminator contract, besting 20 other participants from all over New Zealand to win a shot at the New Zealand Heavyweight Championship at a time of his own choosing. He is also the Kincaid Cup champion, a legacy which involves former winners such as Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Disco Inferno, and Raven, amongst many others. So Alex Savage and his manager / tag team partner, Will Stone, are on a bit of a tear at the moment. May be showing up in PWI, Pro Wrestling Insider's top 500 wrestlers in the world in the next edition.
Wow, that's impressive.
I just made that up. That may not happen at all.
Oh, right.
I'm purely speculating about that.
Speculating.
But he
got the inside information.
He is a dominant force in New Zealand wrestling currently. Would not want to get on the wrong side of this man. Would not mess with him. He is a thug. He is a bully. He turned bad and everything started. Look, there's a moral here. Okay, you can be a good guy, kiss babies,
nice guys finish last,
high five fans, all that sort of thing for 6 years. And he did become New Zealand Tag Team Champions in that time. But apart from that, largely no one give a shit. But as soon as you start being mean, as soon as you start being horrible to people around you, as soon as you start cheating to win, as soon as you remove all your morals, all your empathy for your fellow man, as soon as you do that, you become a champion. And I think that's true in life as well. So this is just a little bit of advice because look, it worked for him for 6 years. Nothing. Now he's 20 other men. Kincaid Cup Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We're on the same level. Ho!
Yeah, well.
You don't remember that?
No.
That's what he does with his 2x4. He has a piece of wood.
Yeah.
And he says, ho, and he gets people to chant USA. Those were Hacksaw Jim Dugganisms.
Okay. Yeah.
But Raven is the one that popped me as a former Kincaid Cup champion. Raven was one of my favorites growing up.
Well, for those that don't know, go out and do a Google search of Alex Savage.
Alex Savage, IPW Wrestling New Zealand. And in fact, I actually understand that IPW have just sort of started their YouTube channel, and they're going to be showing these full-length shows. And I think the last 3 have just been made available on their YouTube. So IPW New Zealand Wrestling on YouTube. You can see some of Alex Savage's fine work there.
Shout out to Joanna Sequa on the live stream. She says, congratulations on the 100,000 subscribers. So thank you, Johanna. All right. Well, I think I'm out of topics.
Yeah, well, also, sadly, I also have to go back. Well, I'm going to do some things too, but essentially what I was doing before this podcast was editing the long track. And
we've got some deadlines coming up.
There's big deadlines coming up that means that things need to get put in, such as those pickups, but also some things need to be decided on. What stays, what goes. We just got feedback from the Film Commission. Well, and to be honest, there wasn't any bad feedback, essentially, but
it was very positive overall.
Which generally they have been. So hopefully we are on the right track according to them. But they were like, "Hey, look, you can make it longer. If anything, you've gone a bit too short now." And it was like,
well, they didn't say short versus long. They said less relationship, more tension, anticipation.
Well, they didn't.
Frights,
they didn't say
fear, horror.
They didn't say relationship. They said
that
more
you're
tension.
taking out the relationship stuff, which is good.
But they didn't say take more of that out. They
said that they want more of the tension and horror, which might require an extended duration.
And I did say, well, the issue we're facing is, and they said, hey, look, it
programmability.
And they said, hey, look, it could be 16 minutes. I'd be more worried about being a good 16 minutes than a not as good 15 and a half minutes. And I was like, cool. You guys said it then.
Well,
you said it.
Yeah, they said it. Cool. Well, if you've enjoyed the show, make sure you use the links down below. Hit thumbs up to aid the algorithm.
It's all about the algorithm now, it's not about this.
No.
This doesn't mean anything, but what does mean something
the
is
100,000 doesn't mean anything.
If you like it,
if you hit thumbs up,
and you watch it for an extended duration, those are the things that the algorithm that will speak to the algorithm. Yeah,
we've had a particularly poor turnout on this episode on the live stream. We've had one person on Twitch the whole time, and we've had 2 to 3 people on YouTube the whole time.
Is it Sunday?
2.
Well,
2 people.
Well, also one of them's me.
There's one of them's
one of them's you,
and the other one's me. Yeah.
So
hey, we've been doing this podcast for like 10 years. We're up to episode 265. 2 viewers. We've got 2 viewers on the live stream, and we're multi-streaming it on different platforms. We've got 3 viewers total. Why do we bother?
Well,
why do we bother?
Certainly, if you were to gauge it on those metrics, this has been a waste of time.
No, to be fair, I did only create the event 2 hours before the show, and I shared the event, an hour, 40 minutes before the show. So that's part of it, is we're not setting a set time a week in advance,
Even Joanna's logged out.
Yeah, she was like, all right, cool. I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to go because I've got better shit to do with my sunny Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, on better shit to do with my sunny Sunday, we will let you all go back to your day, all 3 of you, and shout out to those listening later on the audio only, because that's the true Safety 150. And unless you got anything to add, we will see you on the next episode of the Guy and Harley podcast.